Okay, so I've rolled out my pie crust. So now it's time to transfer it into my pie plate. Before I do that, I'm gonna measure it quickly just to make sure that it's the right size. And then the rest is pretty easy. Just move that oil around one more time, just in case. You're gonna take this and you're gonna flip it. Boom, right over the top. And then you're just gonna gently help it in, side there. And don't worry if it looks ugly because nobody cares about that. And as you'll see, some pieces are too big. You can just rip those off and use it kind of like as a little ball to help push it in to the sides. Then you can take your knife and kind of cut off that excess part, like here. And then this last part is basically just playing around with your dough, adding more where it's needed. As long as it gets up to the lip, you're good. It doesn't matter if it's over the lip, but it does need to be at least to the lip because you don't want your quiche overflowing with custard. So what I like to do is cut it about halfway over the lip like this. Again, it doesn't need to be beautiful. We're all about function here, not appearance. But I will play around with it a little bit and make it prettier. So there you go. I messed around with it a little bit, and as you can see, I kind of uniformly shaped it so that it's all about the same size. And again, it doesn't need to be beautiful, it just needs to be uniform. That's all you really care about here. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna do is something called blind baking. Blind baking is really easy. You're just going to take some aluminum foil and put it over the top like this so that the crust itself doesn't get burnt. And you're going to weigh it down with rice or beans or whatever you have in your house. Some people like to prick the bottom. I don't bother with that step, but if you're a pricker, go for it and prick your bottom of your crust a couple times. So, level it out a little bit, and you're gonna blind bake it like this at 400 degrees for 10 minutes. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes blind baking. So at this stage, we're going to carefully take off the aluminum cover like this. And as you can see, I spilled a little bit of rice, but don't worry too much about that. You can just get that off with your brush or whatever. I'm gonna brush it off. Yeah. Anyway, these are all the joys of baking. The stuff that they don't show to you that actually happens. So yeah, next time I'll be a little more careful to make sure my rice doesn't get through. So now I'm going to put that back in for another 5 minutes at 400 degrees. While we're waiting in these last 5 minutes, we're going to prepare the egg mixture. So get our bowl. I have 6 eggs here. Throw those in. I like to use brown eggs. Use whatever you want. And we're gonna beat those with a fork. Don't need to get too overwhelmed. So that's 6 eggs. To that, we're gonna add 1.5 cups of milk. Measure, measure, measure. Looks about right. Nope, a little bit more. Yep, 1.5 cups. There. So we're just gonna keep beating it and slowly pouring that milk in, about a 1/4 cup at a time. You can also use a whisk. Okay, so we got all that milk in. We're gonna add a little bit of pepper to that. Pepper, pepper, pepper. This is as much as you want to taste. And we're gonna add some sea salt. Again, to taste. I put bacon in mine, so I'm being mindful of that fact. Give that a little beat. Next, we're gonna get our grater, and we're gonna get our Parmesan cheese, and we're gonna grate in about 1/3 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Hard work, but worth it. You can add more if you want it. I like to add this instead of salt because Parmesan cheese is very salty. So that should be about enough, I reckon. And then we're just gonna mix that up. And that's it for our egg mixture, not difficult at all. Just a little pro tip I forgot to mention. This aluminum foil that you use, don't throw that away because you can definitely use that for your next time baking. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes, and as you can see, my crust is finished. And now we're just gonna let it cool for about 15 minutes. It's really important that you let it cool and you don't just throw all your stuff in right away. One of the reasons is egg is something that cooks really easily. So I'm just gonna use this time to pick out the little pieces of rice that got in there. Yep, and also while you're letting it cool, you wanna lower the heat in your oven to 375 degrees. So I'll see you in 15. Okay, it has been 15 minutes, so now we're gonna do the fun part, which is making our quiche. So we're gonna start by putting the bacon at the bottom. Make sure you spread it out evenly so that everybody gets some bacon. Yes, crispy bacon. Then you're gonna add your mushroom, and what else did I put in here? Garlic, some bell peppers, some shallots. Spread that out as well, right in the bottom. To that, you're gonna add your broccoli, and you can break it into a little bit smaller pieces if you want, just to make sure it all fits in there. I always tend to overload my quiches with too many vegetables, if there is such a thing. You're gonna put your sun-dried tomatoes on top there. And then you're going to add your spinach. Now, one thing you can do, because the spinach tends to float to the top, is you can weigh it down a little bit with the vegetables so that you don't get your spinach floating on the top. I personally like it when it's on the top though, so that's just me. All right, next, take your egg mixture and you're gonna pour it evenly, filling it up. Don't overfill it, that would be bad. Should be just enough. Lovely. Look at that. And then that is gonna go in the oven at 375 degrees for about 40 minutes. We want to check it after 40 minutes and see how it's doing. So, stay tuned. And here we have our finished quiche. As you can see, it's a little bit brown on the top. And the way we check it is we take a toothpick and stick it kind of like in the middle. And as you can see, it's not fully cooked yet, so we'll put it back in.